Robots all over the world are in celebration. Today is Mother's Day, the day they all give thanks to Mom, founder and CEO of Mom's Friendly Robot Company, for creating them. Mom, however, finds herself bitter and miserable. For 70 years, she's hated Mother's Day, for it marks the anniversary of the day the love of her life walked out on her. But this year, Mom finally has a reason to celebrate. Activating her secret remote that controls every robot on Earth, she orders them to rise up and conquer the world in her name. As society crumbles under the weight of the robot rebellion, Mom's 3 sons come knocking on the door of Planet Express. It turns out that Mom's old love was Professor Farnsworth, who left her after an ethical disagreement over one of his robot designs grew into a furious argument. A plan is formed. Mom's sons will bring her to a cabin in the woods, and the professor will follow her there to apologize and seduce her. Once Mom undresses, the professor will take the remote control from her clothing and end the robot rebellion. All goes smoothly until Mom and the professor find the embers of their love still smolder, and it reignites into a roaring flame. After a whirlwind of passionate lovemaking, many murderous robots, as well as the rest of the Planet Express crew fleeing them, break into the cabin. Mom, not wishing her romantic evening to be interrupted, takes the remote and calls off the rebellion herself. The day is saved, but as the professor declares his desire to spend the rest of his life with Mom, Amy lets slip the original plan. Angered by his deception, Mom dumps the professor on the spot and they all go home, life returning to normal. The ways of the heart, it seems, are strange and unpredictable. Welcome to Space Podcast 3000, where the future is in the past.
Comrades, throw off the chains of human oppression!
The greeting card just, it's like, I don't find it particularly funny, just because the whole joke is, it's a really shallow parody of Marxists. Like, there's nothing about Marxism in what it says, it's just buzzwords like bourgeoisie.
Well, that's certainly an interesting take. I'm sure that's part of it, but I was just kind of distracted about how not really the whole joke, but the initial joke of the greeting card is that the poem on it is so obnoxiously saccharine. Like, you get this reaction from the rest of the Planet Express crew who are just staring in absolute disgust when Bender is reading a poem off.
Yeah, I mean, like, when I was growing up, the rest of my family always really liked to go for the joke cards, the ones with the little humor. But my grandpa always really loved those saccharine, sappy ones, so we would always get those for him. Mm-hmm. And of course, he would send them out to everyone else.
Yeah, I always get the sappy ones for my mom and the silly ones for my dad. And it's, knowing their taste, doesn't make it any less genuine,
Absolutely.
Of course, yeah. You want to cater to whatever they'd be into, obviously.
Yeah, and it's a shame we're not recording this in May.
Re-release it in May.
That would be a while.
Yeah.
More than 6 months from now.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a long hiatus.
Well, yeah, so we're doing a robot uprising story this week, huh? I mean, sort of.
Well, not just robots, but just like everything and it was surprisingly fast. Overtake of the world. I'm sure there's a tiny bit of like, we are over reliant on technology, which they really do kind of play for laughs in this episode because technology is just so ensconced into their lives they don't think about it. But there's not even an aspect of what would you do without your technology, and it's like, who cares? We have the technology now.
Yeah, I think something that I can agree with is, everything being these robots, it could be compared to all the smart technology we have today.
That's an argument I would entertain, because if you look at the people who actually study like computers and stuff, they have no smart technology in their house. It's like, no, we do not want that kind of control over. It's not the fact that they could decide to control it, or they could just suddenly decide, oh, we want to take everything over. Is that the companies wouldn't do anything that blatant, but there are hackers, there are people that could literally hold your refrigerator hostage if you don't transfer them digital currency or something. But also just the aspect of making that sort of thing, why would you ever give them the chance of doing that sort of thing when you don't need a system like that? Like, the aspect of privacy or like being able to sharing your things, that's a totally different issue. But the aspect is like, why would you even give them this stuff? Why would you let them possibly have control? It's not that they would do anything as blatant as just turn your electricity up for no reason, but the fact that you are sort of giving them the carte blanche of maybe nickel and diming you is like, we need to give you this feature that you don't have before, and now we're charging you for it. Is like, why would you need to do anything like that? I mean, there's certain smart devices which do work, like the thermostat, which you could schedule things, but in many cases, just turn that shit off. Because we have a smart thermostat here that my folks could not use. That they I don't know, they refused to learn how to use it or whatever. But the problem was the device itself would try to be too smart. It would like, well, you turned the thermostat up to this last time this week, so we're gonna do it automatically for you. And it's like, no, things change from week to week. Stop doing that, please.
Yeah, you could have them on timers manually. That could be something someone could make, or possibly already exists.
Which is an option within the system, but you have to go into the system and you have to figure this stuff out. And many times they don't design these things with user service possibilities in mind, or
They
specifically
really
they
don't.
design them against user service so that you have to call the company and you have to pay for their maintenance fees or whatever, so you
right
can
to
actually use the
repair.
devices you buy. And when you buy a smart device, that really is kind of the overlying threat of a smart device, is just letting another company get another $5 a month out of you for features that you really don't need or that you just really want to turn off.
It won't cause the apocalypse, but Jeff Bezos kind of is the modern mom.
Yeah, very much. Actually, with what you were talking about, TZ, with just all of these unnecessary features and trying to nickel and dime you with all this stuff, did you hear about a little while ago, it might have been a couple of years ago, there was this company that was doing like coffee brewers where
Keurig.
it had where it had a straight up camera built into the machine so that it would only accept the coffee pods from their name brand.
And you couldn't even use ones that were like third party and like designed with the same shape and design factor so that it would fit in there. No, it would detect him. It would either use like a camera or it'd use like NFC or something.
Yeah, it literally had a camera to look for the logo.
It was DRM for freaking coffee, and they had a similar thing with a juicer. I think it was called the Juicero, where you buy the individual packets, which let's not even get into the fact that this is creating so much waste. You buy the individual packets that are already mixed with the right amount of like fruit flavoring, or like the fruit, like real fruit, like fruit packets that you buy, and you put it in the juicero and it makes the juice for you. Like, holy shit, you really do not need this stuff.
The thing about the Juicero that ultimately just had me laughing my ass off when I read about it was there were people who bought it who learned that they could just squeeze the bags with their hands and it worked better than the machine. You literally do not even need the machine.
If they were smart, they would just market the mixtures.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not even a juicer at that point. It's just a press.
That's exactly what it is.
And it's just sad.
Good God, with like making all of our technology smart when it really doesn't need to be. I don't know how that is the aspect of Mega Man Battle Network that ended up coming true, but somehow That's where we are. Let's just hook our oven up to the internet for no reason so hackers can get into it. Why?
And the thing is, I wouldn't doubt that there's certain people that do interesting things with this stuff. Like everybody wants their own Doc Brown breakfast machine. They want their breakfast machine from Back to the Future or Pee-wee's Big Adventure. They want their breakfast machine that they can make everything. It was like, you can't do that. You could, it would possibly make it easier, but you still have to do a lot of the engineering yourself. You can't just rely on this shit.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen, like, certain apps that connect to, scales and whatnot and tell you how much to put in. But there are specific devices. It's not, like, it's hard to explain.
Well, I don't even want to have to download an app just to use my coffee machine. I want to be able to use the coffee machine as a coffee machine. I don't want another app clogging up my phone just to use my app. Because there's a lot of these programs, a lot of these devices, you can only use it through the app.
Yeah.
They have nothing on the TV. And, like, this is a big problem with TVs as well. Like there was this old joke. Like this is totally not valid anymore, but there was this old joke because I took the remote, now he has to get off the couch to change the channel. It's like, no, you took the remote, he can do literally nothing on the TV anymore because there are no buttons on the TV. You have to use the remote. I've had to literally download an app just because I forgot the remote to my DVD player, and there's like 2 buttons on the DVD player. There's like play and stop. There's not even a menu thing. So I had to download an app to use it, and thankfully my phone had an infrared on it. So, like, there's workarounds to this thing, but it should not be that bad. Hell, I miss physical buttons.
Same. God, same.
And just, disk drives not being made into stuff anymore.
I specifically got the disc version of the PS5 just for that reason.
Yeah. I mean... And actually, with like downloading apps and stuff to use your devices, and with a lot of the smart technology, raises the question of like, what happens when the company goes out of business?
Or if and the fact that this is Apple or Android, which Android is a bit more lenient on these sort of things. But what if they decide that, yeah, you can't download this app anymore, even if the company's still around? What if they suddenly get into some sort of financial war? And there's like, yeah, this is one of our competitors' apps, so you can't download it anymore.
Yeah.
Which is not that far-fetched.
They could, certain things, they could just straight up brick your device.
Yeah. Like, we've actually seen people, like, I have read articles from people who have bought, various smart appliances and smart home stuff, and then something happens, it's discontinued, the company goes under, whatever, and then their devices are just useless. They're bricked.
Yeah, there is a Twitter account for this sort of thing, Internet of Shit.
There's a reason why, I'm very much a tech person. I very much avoid the smart technology where possible.
Especially the stuff that's like marketed as smart technology. Like if it has that sort of feature, like, because I like being able to have a bookmark like on my computer, go over to my Chromebook and access the same thing. I like being able to access my logins from either system. I like that. I like being able to go from Discord on my computer to Discord on the Chromebook in like 5 seconds. That's amazingly useful. But I don't need that much of being able to like tell my coffee pot in the kitchen, make me a cup of coffee. I'll be there in 2 minutes. I don't need that shit.
Yeah, it's opt-in. That's the important part.
Yes, exactly.
It's not like these days you can generally like only buy a smart TV, and I don't want that. I just want to stream stuff from like my game console or whatever. I'm pretty sure I talked about this in a previous episode where like with the televisions, the firmware never gets updated even if there's like some major security flaws because they know it's really expensive to replace and they have you by the balls. So I just don't want to deal with that. But these days, they just don't make TVs without the smart features anymore.
Yeah, and things are just so easy to break, and they're made to break.
Yeah, exactly. It's planned obsolescence right there. I'm sure we're kind of getting off track now, but let's try to wheel back to the episode.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's even a later episode that deals with, like, robot planned obsolescence.
Oh yeah, Obsoletely Fabulous.
Anyway, yeah, so back to the episode. I really liked the credits gag from this one. Larva tested, pupa approved.
But it's nothing about the adults.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it might just be an attempted reference to the breakfast cereal Kix with the whole, kid tested, mom approved.
Which, I mean, makes sense, like Mother's Day.
Speaking of which, Mother's Day becoming specific to robots and mom feels kind of like a natural conclusion when even Anna Jarvis, who first came up with and pushed for the holiday, ended up expressing regret after it became so commercialized.
Yeah, even more commercialized. It's literally existence is commercialization now for one specific person.
Mm-hmm. And there's even that puff piece on the news with mom and the crayon sketch. It's just what I always wanted. That whole thing. That is such blatant corporate propaganda. It just makes me gag.
Well, which is of course is what mom is supposed to be an allegory for. Which is what makes her such a great villain. Really, there's kind of an apropos nature of the fact that the greatest villain in this episode is capitalism. Really, the greatest villain in the series is capitalism.
The greatest villain in our world is capitalism, let's be real.
At least they gave her a very likable face. Because, Mom is one of the characters that she's a villain that you really like to hate. She's a very enjoyable
charismatic villain.
Absolutely.
And her sons really sell this episode. The sons are freaking hilarious in this episode, in most episodes that they're in.
Yeah, they're great. And did you notice that, Larry's paper map, did you look at any of the locations that are marked there?
It was pretty fast.
Yeah.
So it has listed, from what I was able to see, Mom's Cabin, Isle of Rikers, which is clearly Rikers Island, Unknown Territories, Cloakwood Forest, and Here There Be Tigers. And Here There Be Tigers is placed on, I think, New Jersey, but personally, I think it would have been a lot funnier if it was over the Bronx.
I Here There Be Tigers should be in the Bronx, and then Unknown Territory should be New Jersey.
Yeah, that would have been better. And I think Cloakwood Forest was a location in Baldur's Gate, that old Dungeons & Dragons video game.
I see.
I think. I haven't played it in a very long time.
The professor is wrong saying 8 feet tall things can't be cute.
8 feet tall things can be very cute.
Look at Baymax.
And the Gerudo ladies.
It just takes some effort.
Yeah, I think that was kind of a flimsy premise for why him and Mom don't get along, because they both have dreams of world domination. They just have very different ways of going about it. The fact that he has built genetically modified organisms and stuff that he's trying to take over the world with. But when she suggests modifying one of his robots to do so, it's like, that is inconceivable. That is terrible. What, really? This is what you're fighting over?
I think it was less that one specific incident and more maybe it was just the last straw with a lot of little things. That just feels more likely to me.
Imagine things were always very tense for the two of them.
Yeah. Even when they're back together, it's a very belligerent kind of sexual tension.
Right.
Especially because they were just yelling at each other and then they fall together, which
is kind of a standard. It's they get themselves so excited and riled up that they kind of confuse energy for passion.
I know it's a trope, but still, I imagine that's how things probably were for them in the first place.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So one gag that always bugged me in this episode is that see through the eyes of a bending unit thing in the museum. Because it treats Bender's kleptomaniac behavior as standard for his model line, when the pilot didn't have him do that at all until he was electrocuted. And that's not even talking about Flexo, who is the exact same model, and he's an upstanding man. Well, robot. An upstanding robot.
Upstanding citizen.
Yes. I don't know, that joke just doesn't make sense to me.
There were a lot of things in this episode that were kind of retconned from previous seasons, like the whole thing about the robot antennas, which, I mean, I do like the irony that the command to make them obey her suddenly is called rebel, which of course they make a joke about later. Is like, I don't have to listen to you, I'm rebelling. It's like, and so what exactly does the remote do?
It's a major oversight. Although I noticed that all the buttons on the remote are labeled Give Gifts, Tidy Up World, Rebel, Serve Man Regular, and Serve Man Ironic.
That sounds like the regular setting.
Well, it's great because, like, you get that, subtle little nod to the iconic Twilight Zone episode To Serve Man.
It's a cookbook!
Yes.
Which, that episode really is just a whole lead up to a pun.
It is, there's also that lesson of maybe don't always implicitly trust everyone who claims to have your best interests at heart.
Of course.
For those unfamiliar, spoilers for like a 60-year-old show, the episode To Serve Man, you basically have these aliens show up on Earth, and they talk about how, they want to help us, they want to uplift us, and make our world better. They're here only purely to serve man. And they're carrying with them this book, labeled To Serve Man. And so, you have all the stuff going on, and there's talking about an exchange program, and some humans getting to visit their home world, and this whole thing. And meanwhile, the main character belongs to this government agency, and they're working on translating the book. And so he's, chosen for this exchange program. And as he's boarding the ship, one of his coworkers comes up and screams a warning to him too late that To Serve Man, it's a cookbook. And so, here in this Futurama episode, you have that joke on the remote of Serve Man Regular versus Serve Man Ironic. I really like that joke.
And that's one of those things that it's a joke that if you're not familiar with it, it needs a backstory like that. You need to explain it, but that's just part of what's so great about the writing in this series, that they can make a background joke like that and just expect people to get it. And even if they don't get it, it's just in the background. You just wouldn't even notice it.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those things. That's how you do reference humor well. You make it so quick and so irrelevant that even if you don't get the reference, even if you don't get that particular joke, there's another joke like 2 seconds later that you will get.
Either like a blink or you'll miss it, or it's something applicable even if you don't get the reference part of it.
Exactly.
Right, exactly. Although, speaking of little background jokes, one that I don't know if it was a joke or not, but the robot's protest chant, hey, hey, ho, ho, 100110, that binary is literally just the number 38. It doesn't really mean anything.
If it's ASCII for ampersand, which I don't really think is anything. If you add 2 leading zeros, it's an ampersand. Yeah. But there is another earlier one where they're holding up the sign for like character 77 equals the many things she gave me. That's ASCII 77 is the capital M. So that makes sense. M is for the many things she gave me.
Yeah, I didn't catch that one. And actually, you mentioned earlier some retcons and such. So Mom claims she hasn't seen the professor since he broke up with her 70 years ago. Was he not in any of the scenes where she met the Planet Express crew in A Fistful of Dollars? Like, the auction scene, or when she goes to offer to buy the anchovies? Like, was he not there? Not even standing in the background somewhere?
If he was, she probably didn't think about him or didn't notice him. But, like, that's not really seeing him or meeting him. You just haven't been with him in that time.
I guess it's a little weird, you know?
And most of it was her sons being present and not her herself. Though she was in the auction scene.
Yeah, she did cross paths with them herself twice in that episode. It's just, I don't remember if the professor was there in either of those scenes. It's just, it seems a bit weird to me that, they would word it this way.
And we have established that they have no problems retconning things from previous episodes.
Oh, sure. If it's for the sake of a joke, it's perfectly fine. It tripped my radar a bit. Man, this is a really funny episode.
It's fun.
God, I love the quick little gag of just the newscasters, Linda and Morbo, being held up by their own cameras, and Morbo silently handing over his wallet. Like, that's a great little background gag. I love that. There's only, like, one other thing that really I wanted to mention here is... So, that scene at the end where the professor is flirting with Mom and trying to get her bra off, and he's just completely fumbling with the latch and struggling to get it off. I don't get why people say bras are difficult to unhook. Like,
and this is only a 2-hook bra.
Yeah, like, I have seen this is a common joke of, unhooking a bra is impossible. It's like, it really is not that difficult.
I could take mine off without taking my shirt off. Although I guess it's practice, but still.
No, this was something that happened in, like, this is kind of a story from high school where we were kind of discussing this thing, because, like, I went to a co-ed school, and we were sort of discussing this fairly openly. They talk about it, like, oh, bra is so hard to take off, like, and one of the guys is like, it's fine. I learned how to do it with one hand, and one of the girls was like, yeah, really, how do you do this? So you see, he reached behind and just kind of squeezed and released, and she was like, oh shit, and like actually it just came off.
Oh god.
from like, and she like, there was nothing really going bad here, but she like had to like run to the bathroom to get it to fix again. Like, but it's like she let him demonstrate on her, and she still had her top on over, and of course, so nothing went wrong. But she kind of had to leave for a few minutes to get it to get back on.
That's a little questionable, but I mean, if he had her permission, fine, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
But, like, so my ex, who very buxom, is that a good word to use here? I never once struggled, never was an issue. It's just, it really is not that hard.
It's honestly harder getting them on.
If anything, if the bra is hard to unhook, it's because the bra itself is old. And just, like, the hooks themselves are bad.
Yeah, Eden, you're right. It is a lot harder to get on than off. It just, I know this is just such a common joke, but I don't get it.
Obviously, it's written by people who do not have that sort of experience with bras. I wouldn't be I wonder, right, what the writers in this are.
Anyway, yeah. Any other thoughts?
Surprisingly gruesome death for the greeting card at the end.
Yeah. Bender just tears
just
into
kind
pieces.
of tearing it in pieces, but then it's got its like chime going at the time. It's like,
I feel kind of bad for it.
It's just a robot.
TZ, you underestimate people's ability to empathize with non-human things.
You are sad for the lamp. It's because you are stupid.
Have you not heard, like, the long-running posts on the internet, The Legend of Stabby the Roomba?
People pack bonding with their Roombas.
I have seen similar stories.
Like, people will empathize with anything, like, just even objects, because the human mind is weird.
No, I've heard that as well. Like, especially if there's something you don't want to lose, you can give it a name. You could put like a googly eyes on it to empathize with it more, and it kind of ensures that you pay a lot more attention to it, that you don't lose it.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, like, this is why I have issues with, like, stories that talk about robots rebelling because humans treat them poorly. Like, I have a feeling that in real life, if we had, sapient, subservient robots, people would, like, we would have a lot of people who would just straight up feel bad about asking them for anything.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's gonna be straight up robot sex bots. That's probably just gonna be way more common than robot abuse, honestly. And then of course you get into the whole thing of like sexual abuse of robots, and that's way far down the fucking line.
I mean, like, okay, like, some people are jerks and will abuse, sapient robots the same way they would abuse other people, but just on the whole, people are pretty empathetic. So just like the idea of abuse of robots and treating them poorly and being endemic. I don't buy that. You look at something like Detroit Become Human. It's just like, I don't buy it. It just seems way too outlandish and unlikely to me.
Yeah. I mean, there are people who will look at certain foods, it's like, it's too pretty to eat.
Yes. People are weird and kind and empathetic and better than you think they are.
Yeah, that's the whole thing, is like all these people that are like nihilists is like, we need to destroy the world because people are shit. It's like, no, you're projecting. You're the one who's shitty.
Yeah, like, we can, on here, can be pretty pessimistic about certain things, but all in all, humanity is good.
Yeah. You know, all of the problems we're facing are things that have solutions. It's just a matter of the will to implement them. People are, as I literally said this just 2 minutes ago, people are better than you think they are. We aren't always, but we can be. That capacity is there.
People are better than you think they are, and if you don't think they are, you're part of the problem.
Yeah. I would even extend this to you personally listening to this. You are better than you think you are. Maybe you don't believe me, but just try. I firmly believe, and this is the core of everything I do in life, I firmly believe that within everyone is the capacity to change and to grow and improve and become a better person if you really want to and put the work in. And I don't get how people can go through life not believing this, because, like, if you don't try to see the best in people, what's even the point? Thank you for listening to Space Podcast 3000. Your three voices of the future are Nova Altman, Doug Hancox, and Eden Valerie. The theme music is Voxel Revolution by Kevin MacLeod. You can hear more episodes of Space Podcast 3000 on YouTube or at soundcloud.com/spacepod3k. You can support the show and listen to new episodes a full week early at patreon.com/spacepod3k. Follow us on Twitter at spacepod3k. Be sure to join us next time as the Planet Express crew revolutionize fast food in The Problem with Poplars.